So let's look at some carnivores. Well, the first thing you notice is that they have a very streamlined shape. They're kind of shaped like a torpedo so that when they're running, they present the smallest cross-section of their body to the wind so that when they're running, they don't encounter a lot of wind resistance, and that helps them run very fast. They have what I refer to as an armored front, and what I mean is you see the chest cavity is, number one, enclosed by ribs. There's a breastbone right here, and then you've got heavily padded neck and shoulders that when they run, so that if they run up behind an animal and that animal tries to kick them, it's going to hit them in an area where they are protected. The vulnerable parts of this animal, in other words, the unprotected abdomen and the gonads, are all the way at the other end where they're least likely to be injured. They have thick, muscular, sturdy neck, forward deployed weapons, and if you've ever looked into the face of a snarling dog, you know exactly what I mean. And that helps them attack their prey, bring it down. Their top speed for most predators is about 35 to 40 miles an hour. Why is that important? That's important because it enables them to capture sick or injured or unwary animals, but it is not fast enough for them to chase down the healthiest animals, because the healthiest animals typically can outrun them and outlast them in an endurance race. They have what is called a digitigrade stance. What does that mean? That means that they are permanently on their toes. Their skeletons are constructed so that they're always on their toes. Now, when you think about the Olympics, when human runners get ready to run, what does the announcer say? He says, runners, on your mark, get set. When he says get set, that's when they get up on their toes, right? To get ready to run. Well, these animals don't have to do that. They're always on their toes, and I'll show you that in a minute. And that increases their leg length, which increases their stride length, which helps to increase their speed. Their nails are sharp claws, which act like sprinter spikes, helps them run faster. It also helps them grapple with prey once they catch up to it. They have permanently flexed joints. Again, when we want to try to run, we've got to get down in a runner's crouch so that we can kind of develop that burst of speed. These animals have permanently flexed joints, so they don't have to get down in a runner's crouch. They're permanently in a runner's crouch. And again, show you that in a minute. But that means that they have to use muscle energy to resist gravity. So right now, we are going to do a little exercise. I need everyone in the room, unless you have a disability, to stand up right where you are. Just stand up. Okay. Is anybody having any difficulty standing right now? No. All right. Now, I want everybody to crouch down like this and stay in this position as long as you can. Like we're getting ready to run, but we ain't going nowhere. Now, who is starting to feel that burn in their thighs? You starting to feel that? Why are you feeling that? It's because your muscles are now resisting gravity instead of your skeleton. All right, you guys can have a seat. But that's why your pets, like your dogs and your cats, if they're not actively doing something, they go lay down because it takes energy for them to stand. Because of these permanently flexed joints, they are not able to use their skeletons to resist gravity. And they have, as you can see, these skinny little legs, which lightens, and these tiny feet, which lightens the cost of running and helps them run faster. Their senses are optimized for detecting prey, so they have super acute hearing. Their ears move around like little radar dishes to help them localize their prey. Their eyesight, they may have binocular vision, but their eyes are constructed very, very differently from ours. Their eyes are optimized for seeing at night. They're also optimized for detecting movement, not seeing fine detail. They have very low resolution. Their sense of smell can be up to 100,000 times more powerful than ours. It's sensitive enough to detect and track prey at great distances, but this is the really important part. Because for years, people thought that when carnivores went out to hunt, they were just randomly hunting animals, kind of like we do. We go out, Well, excuse me, some of us, those who are still not evolved enough to know that hunting is disgusting, and they go out and they just look for something to shoot. No, these animals actually can smell which animals are sick. And we are now using this ability of these animals to actually detect cancer recurrences in people who've had colon cancer or melanoma. We train companion animals to be able to detect when someone's about to have a seizure or when their blood sugar level is low, because that's how powerful these animals' sense of smell is. And so that means that, again, when they're out hunting, they are sniffing the air to find out which one of those animals is sick. Why are they doing that? It's easier to catch, exactly. Less energy out, more energy in, exactly. Now, this is what I was telling you. You see these permanently flexed joints, and you see they're on the tips of their toes. Their heel is actually a third of the way up their leg. Very different construction from humans and herbivores. Now let's look at what I call the vulnerable herbivores, and these are the ones that are hunted by carnivores. Well, clearly they're designed for foraging and can walk long distances at low energy costs because they have very straight legs and their skeletons actually help them stand. They tend to remain active throughout the day as opposed to night. They live in large multi-family social groups. Their limbs, as I said, are straight, so their bones resist gravity with a minimum of muscle energy. Some of them are so well constructed for standing that they can actually sleep standing up, because with 4 legs, they're like a table. Whereas the carnivores' limbs were skinny, their limbs are even skinnier and lighter, which means that enables them to run even faster than the carnivores. But it gets better. They have what's called an unguligrade, and that's why they're called ungulates. They have an unguligrade stance. That means that they are on point like a ballerina. Instead of standing on the balls of their toes, they are literally standing on the tips of their toes. Furthermore, many of them have lost many of their toes, which is why they will have cloven hoofs, like 2 toes, or some of them have 3 toes, like rhinos and tapirs. And then in the case of horses and other equines, they've gotten down to just 1 toe. And this, again, allows them not only to run faster, but also gives them greater endurance. You notice that when Western civilization needed to hitch their wagons and stagecoaches to animals, they didn't use lions, tigers, and bears. They used horses and oxen. Their nails, instead of being sharp claws, are flat and blunt. They may have color vision because color vision helps them detect when their food is ripe and can be eaten. They are diurnal, meaning active during the day, and their top speed is typically about 45 to 50 miles an hour, meaning that if they're healthy, they can typically outrun and outlast a predator. Then we reach what are called the invulnerable herbivores. These are the ones that are so large and powerful, they're essentially immune to predation. And what you see there is that they don't have to run that fast. Their top speed is usually only about 25 to 30 miles an hour. Again, they are daytime foragers, but they have these really thick, heavy, straight, pillar-like limbs. They have a largely hairless skin. Their nails are also flat and blunt. They have large, heavy feet, and so because they don't have to move their feet very fast, and may have a flat foot or plantigrade-like stance. And like humans, elephants are long-lived social mammals that live in large family groups of various sizes. And in general, terrestrial herbivorous mammals live much longer than the carnivores. These mammals are a living testament to the adequacy of plant protein. They eat nothing but plants, but they're the biggest things on land on the planet. Clearly, there's plenty of protein in plants. So this is just a drawing showing a cat skeleton drawn to scale to compare with an elephant's, and you see the differences immediately. The cat has the flexed joints, the elephant has the straight joints, meaning that when it's standing, its skeleton is resisting gravity as opposed to its muscles. Now, let's talk about the energy cost of locomotion. For all animals, if you graph walking speed versus the energy utilized, you see that you get a straight line, meaning the faster the animal walks, the more energy it requires. That's different only for human beings. For humans, you get a parabola. You see, you get this curve here. And what that means is you get this energy savings that and this means that we use less energy for over a wide range of walking speeds than would be predicted for an animal our size. How do we do that? Is it magic? It has to do with the way we stand and how our bodies are constructed. So, again, for all other animals, their center of mass is actually located down between their base of support. And that means that even when they're walking, their center of mass stays within their base of support, and they remain very stable. It's not true for human beings. Our center of mass is actually located on top of our base of support, it's up here. And that means that every time our legs swing out, your center of mass actually falls outside of your body, and you start to fall. And that means that as you're falling, instead of you generating energy to move forward, gravity is moving you forward. Is that clear to people? So because of the way we stand, we actually have learned to utilize gravity to do part of the work of moving us forward. And that's why even if you stub your toe even a little bit, it makes you look so stupid and goofy. Because really, walking for human beings is just falling forward. It's just we do it as a finely tuned balance, and we catch ourselves before we fall on our face. But anything that interrupts the swing of that leg will make us look like we are just, I don't know, one of the Marx Brothers. But what that means is that human beings are the ultimate foragers. We're wonderful walkers, we're lousy runners. We can't run very far, and we can't run very fast, but we can walk forever at a very low energy cost.